Siobhan.
And she/they, just like me.
For real.
Hey, girl.
Hey.
How's it going?
Pretty good. We have a special guest. Please welcome to the show, Changeline. Hello.
What's up, Change? Hey.
Hello. I am so happy to be here. This is so fucking exciting.
Yeah,
we're so glad
we're
to
so
have
happy
you.
you're here. Yeah, oh my god. Dream guest, truly.
I listened to you guys' analysis of my album yesterday, so it's pretty fresh in my mind, and I have so much to say.
Yeah,
Ooh,
cool.
Okay.
Well, I'd love to just get right into it. So, what do you think?
Yeah.
There were definitely some songs that left us scratching our head a little bit, so we would love some additional insight from the artist herself. So yeah, just any thoughts on the top of your head, please let us know.
Right now? Oh my god.
Yes, you're on the spot right now.
It is a beautiful day outside. Beautiful day.
Oh, sweet.
And
God, I so agree.
My brain went on autopilot. Just, hey, thoughts on the album and thoughts on our analysis on the album. We'd love to hear them.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, first thoughts on the top of your head. I was like, my dog's sleeping next to me right now. We hope he's not.
What kind of dog do you have?
Yeah, he's a pit bull, Boston Terrier mix. Very good boy. A very good boy, but also 7 months old, so very excited. And right now he's sleeping, so we're good. We hope he's not gonna wake up and mess everything up. To circle back, first thoughts on your guys' analysis. Some songs you get it all wrong, and I love it so much.
Hell yeah.
Yay! As is tradition.
Because I guess it gave a second perspective. I mean, it's always what I like about how people interpret, art in general. You can see the different perspectives. And when people listen to me and they come to me and they have like a whole theory about a song and I'm like, this is not right, but thank you. It's still very interesting. One of my supporters on Patreon, actually, like a few days after the album dropped, gave me a detailed analysis of what they thought of the album. I was so surprised to see that some very specific details, they had it like super right. I felt like I was an open book on those specific details, and on other topics they went a total other path, and it's so interesting to see that. I really love that. I was listening to you guys talking about some of the songs. I was like, damn, that is just one line. This is not what the song is about, but
yeah,
so true. Well, I mean, in fairness, like we don't really consider ourselves to be like, like an album like review podcast or anything like that. We just kind of use music and media to like have a jumping off point for like discussions like of like our personal experiences and things like that. Re-listening to it, we definitely did that on some songs where like going back, I also re-listened to the record since then, and I can definitely see like some errors and stuff like that. But I think that's like fine. It's like interesting.
I wouldn't consider them errors at all. Like, I really like the fact that it can, like, sometimes, like, again, I really like the fact that you guys' minds went somewhere else than mine. It's so important for me in art because it's not just my stuff. Once that's what I usually say to people when they're like, do you listen to your own music? I'm like, yes, until I drop it, and then it's not really mine anymore. And then, it becomes like a shared piece that we can all partake in, if that makes sense.
Becomes communal. Yeah,
absolutely,
exactly. And I really like that. Though for this album specifically, I'm still listening to some of the songs. I mean, even just in rehearsal when I'm like rehearsing for my shows, of course, but like listening on my own, there's some of the songs in the album I'm like still listening to them, which is a first for me because usually when I drop songs, like again, I don't listen to them anymore afterwards. Like I haven't listened to fucking Octopus Lady for such a while. But this album, I got like 2 or 3 songs and I'm like, this is so fucking good. Oh my God. One of the biggest achievements with this album was being proud of having made the music that I want to listen to currently. Some songs and the whole album were ready way before it dropped. Like I think it was ready 4 months before the actual drop. So I did have it on MP3 on my phone, and I was like just listening to it when I was like running, walking, skating, biking, whatever. I'm very outdoorsy. So, and I was like literally sometimes I was like every time I do one of those activities, I just go out and I'm like, which album do I want to put on? And for like a month I was like, mine, bitch. Mine. It's literally what I want to listen to when I walk down the street. And that was why I'm like super happy, you know? It's like, this is an album that I made for other people too, but also for myself kind of. And I'm very proud of that.
I love that. I would love to know which song on the record or which songs you're most excited to perform.
So I performed most of the songs already at 2 shows only. So it has been, because I had an album release party in London just a week after it dropped, if I remember correctly. And then I had a Paris show like a week after that London show, where I had I also had the opportunity to like play most of the songs in the album. I honestly love to play almost each song in the album, except like Appreciate the Moment isn't a song that you would play. It's just an interlude. And I don't, even though people have been, to my surprise, people have been asking for Elevate, even though that's the only one I cut out of my set list because I feel like it wouldn't work live. For me, all the songs are solid on this album, but if I have to pick one that is like under each and every other song, it will be Elevate. I'm very happy with it though. I still love that song, but it's the weakest in my opinion. Maybe because it's like very industrial, like maybe a bit too much. I kind of like the fact that I added like Afrobeat type of drums on it, even though you wouldn't really expect those type of beats on that type of like sound, like very grungy sound. But yeah, Elevate is the one that I take out, and the one that I love to perform so far, even though I performed them only twice for now, is The Draw of a New Shape, which is the outro of the album and also the outro of my show. And it's just like, while I was making this song, I already knew what I wanted for live performances. Right now, I don't have the budget to have everything I want because it's such an epic song. Like, I want to have fucking like explosions, backup dancers, screens and everything, which some of that we will have. I'm not going to say too much about that, but some of that I'm working with people to get actual real budget for like a good set design, not only for that song, like for the whole show. The thing is that I was kind of like anxious that The Draw of a New Shape wouldn't work as well as it works in my mind live because of all the beat switches. But actually, it's a very solid song live too. The beginning and the ending have a big impact on people, I can tell. So much that in Paris we had to do like 2 encores, not of that song, because fuck, 2 encores of The Draw of a New Shape would have been like terrible. 12 minutes, they would have kicked us out. But
that's so funny.
But when I got off stage in London after The Draw of a New Shape, everyone was like screaming for like fucking 2 minutes.
Wow.
And same thing in Paris, and in Paris they were like, I mean, Paris go fucking wild because that's France, and they're like happy that I'm French and everything, so they always ask me for an encore. But the fact that they asked 2 encores, like, that was crazy though. That was really crazy.
That is crazy.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say that Elevate was probably one of my favorite songs on the album, so that's wild. But I mean, obviously it's your album, so you're going to feel differently about the songs than I will. Your music has always really connected with me, and I've always really enjoyed your stuff. But I gotta say that, like, I connect with this album more than, I'm going to say, anything that you've put out before. It could be that I'm like later in my transition now, and maybe it's just hitting me different. As far as the outro song, we talked about it a little bit during the episode, but like the fact that you specifically have the like, oh, you thought it was done before it, really does kind of be like, this is like almost its own separate part of the album. Like the whole rest of the album is side A, and here's side B, this outro song that's like its own standalone thing. So yeah, I could definitely see that being like a huge fucking part of the show.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like it's supposed to lead to what my sound is gonna be from now on too. That's also why. It's like, you thought it was over, and it's like,
okay.
there's the beat switches, which is kind of like a Changeline staple at this point, but the way it sounds, specifically the third beat with like the soulful sample and kind of like the J. Cole ambience is way different, and then the ending where it goes more into like house club music is also very different to what I usually do, and it's supposed to lead to the next projects from now on. So that makes sense that you would feel like it's a side B. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so hyped then. That's so fucking exciting.
Yeah.
I don't think I said that publicly yet, so I just want to talk about it real quick. But, well, first shout out my producer Nova Fled from Denmark, who has produced 10 songs of the album, and shout out Heikki as well, who's from Canada, who produced Change Part 1. Without those two girls, that album wouldn't have been what it is. It's a big like collective work, and specifically about Nova, the Draw of a New Shape's beat has like right now around 4 beat switches, and it's like 6 minutes long. It was like the beat I received was 8 minutes long and had like 6 bit switches. So oof, wow. Yeah, it was crazy. I had to cut down because she goes everywhere.
Oh, I love that.
So I had to cut down a bunch of stuff, and I just wanted to talk about it because I feel like it's always interesting to like know where you came from and how it ended up being, because it was like she even made a whole song actually out of it. She made the 8-minute song and was not happy with it and just sent it to me at some point randomly, being like, I just have this song and I don't think I'll keep it, but just wanted you to listen to it. Then I was like, girl, if you don't keep it, give me that beat. I swear to God.
Think like, is this anything? Like, oh fuck yeah, it is.
And then she was like, you know what? Yeah, go for it. You can't even have my vocals. I took off all of her vocals. I ended up not keeping anything. Took down a bunch of the beats switches. Added some of my arrangement. Specifically, like there's a piano part on the drill on the second beat that is like more like drill oriented. I added like the piano chords. Was super proud of that. And like I rearranged like a bunch of stuff, but it was like that was a big amount of work. And also I'm very happy about that song to hear that people are like, you made like, this is a 6-minute song and I don't skip it, and I like genuinely love it from start to finish. I've heard a bunch of people being like, I think that's the favorite song of the album for most people, which is also very surprising given the fact that it's the longest. And like, I ain't no fucking Pink Floyd fan. I usually don't fuck with the super long songs, I'll be real with you. But for this one, I'm like, damn, from start to finish, it's awesome. I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like all the changes that it goes through, one are like important, I think, for like the themes of the record, but also like that makes a long song more like interesting.
Exactly.
Because it's like constantly changing.
It's the pinnacle.
You know what I mean?
It's a pinnacle of the album's theme, and that's the moment where I think I remember from you guys' analysis that a lot of things that you said, and that makes a lot of sense with my art, is that sometimes it's like I'm like goofy, and then suddenly trauma dumping, and then goofy again.
Yes.
And for the Draw of a New Shape, it's like I feel like it's constantly serious, and that's also what I wanted from and Change Part 2, the one that comes just before this one. I just wanted like super serious songs at least once in the album, and I felt like the ending would be the best part for that. So there's also that it's like all the lyrics or all the lines are on topic, and they are kind of like a conclusion to the story, kind of like, you know, like the final scene of a movie where it's like I go through a lot of things about my past and everything. It's kind of like the fucking Naruto flashbacks before he beats up whoever he's beating up. It's kind of like the feeling. Yeah.
I see it as like there's a part in like a poem that's called like The Turn, where like everything kind of like turns around and culminates, and that's definitely how I see that song on the record. And also, you know, we missed it in our episode, but I did just want to shout out that in Change Part 2, the toxic
yes, oh my god, yes.
It's crazy. It goes so hard.
I am so scared. I'm so scared of getting sued. Oh my fucking god.
I might bleep that just for the sake of. I loved that shit too. That's one thing that kind of sets us apart from the other podcast we invited you on in 2023. I didn't realize it was so long ago. The Going Off podcast.
Yeah.
Is that's more of like a line by line, really break shit down, take a whole bunch of fucking notes. So on this one, when it's more like Siobhan was saying earlier about like how a song is hitting us, how we relate, there's a lot less notes. So unfortunately, things like that do kind of go under the radar and go unnoticed or unremarked on.
Yeah.
I guess. But yeah, that was definitely a moment of like, oh shit.
And that's good. I think that's good that people don't really hear that it's like, it's not even sampling Toxic from Britney Spears, technically. It's because Toxic already samples an Indian song. And it's technically a sample of that Indian song, which I'm not going to, I have the name under because I wanted to remind myself of the name, but I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I'm going to completely destroy that language.
That's fair.
Okay, see, I didn't even know that, so it's just proving once again that, like, Moth is the cool one, and I'm the one here.
No. Just because I knew it was from some Bollywood film does not mean that I'm cooler by any stretch. So what shit did we get wrong, Change? I'm very curious.
Okay, well, I'm gonna, you guys are gonna have to remind myself, but, I guess we can take song by song.
Yeah.
Change Part 1, we said that was, it's sort of like a thesis statement for the record. Like, it's about, changing.
The Change Part 1, you definitely had it super right, though. It was specifically, I don't remember which one of you said it, but at some point you said it's kind of like a usual Changeline song to ease you into the project, and it is exactly what I was doing. It's exactly what I was doing.
Cool. Yeah, that was me.
Of course. I got you, girl.
Yes. Cool one.
I got you, girl. It was definitely. What's funny is that I didn't think it would be the intro to the album, and then when I had this thought in mind, being like, oh, that's kind of like a usual. It wasn't even supposed to be in the album at first, and then I was like, nah, but it makes sense. Like, it is the intro to the album. And I added that little, all right, I'm done, at the very beginning before the beat starts, because I wanted to have like a little vocal sample just before the album actually starts. And then I was like, yeah, it's such like, it is a Changeling classic, kinda, but also it has some new sonorities that you will find in the album later on. So I was like, it's a perfect way to ease people in, because I've noticed that I have a bunch of different type of projects, and when I do more introspective projects, most of the time people don't really listen to them because they want to listen to me scream. And so this song was definitely a trick to be like, hey, that's Changeline, usual, right? She's being goofy on the track and everything, and then you get hit with something else. People used to see me dropping every 2 weeks. It was a good thing for a while to help me practice and being in the state of mind of like, I'm gonna drop something anyways, even if it's not that good, even if it's not perfect. But now that I got to a point where I'm like way more confident with what I'm doing musically, I'm like, no, I can take my time on a song, and if it needs a couple of versions, it will take a couple of versions, because I want it to be timeless. I want to be able to listen to each and every one of the songs I make from now on. So, like, definitely, like, the album had like, it ends up having only 11 songs, 10 songs if we don't count Appreciate the Moment. And there was like, I think I made like 25 songs.
Oh wow!
So I scrapped I scrapped a lot of it, because if I'm not satisfied, I'm like, I'm not dropping that shit.
This is
not good enough. And I know a lot of people, some of my artist friends have listened to the songs that I scrapped, and they're like, why won't you drop that? I'm like, because it's not good enough. And they're like,
yeah.
But even if it's mid, you can. And I'm like, no, I don't drop anything mid anymore.
Okay. Yeah.
Damn, let's go.
That's powerful, honestly.
That definitely gives credence to why this album sticks out so much to me specifically. Because I definitely did enjoy that period where you were releasing songs more frequently. But there's definitely something palpable and tangible about this album that really does set it apart.
You're saying I think I relate to that album more than all my other projects before. It's because it's a good one, and they were all shit before.
Oh no! I see what you mean, though. I know what you're getting at, because like we're content creators ourselves.
Yeah, no, you feel me.
We've been doing this show this is the 22nd episode. There's episodes in the past that we're like, wow, like we've come a long way since then, and like they're still good, but we could tell we're on a different plane now.
Yeah, no, it's exactly. I took a while to perfect it because I was unsatisfied with most things that I was dropping, even though like there's a lot of good things that came out of that era when I was dropping more often. Like, I mean, ADHD Core, the Laser Fully Charged, fucking Octopus Lady, like my biggest hits are from this era, but now I want to move on to, also because I want to be recognized as more than just like people were like seeing me as this like trans rap artist, meme rapper, or whatever the fuck, and I really don't. This was cool for a while. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I hate my past. No, because it led me here. That's also like the whole topic of change, is like you need to go through everything you go through to get where you are, and you kind of like, I would have been okay without the traumas, but you know, it's another topic.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And speaking of that, can we talk about Sex with Death?
We can talk about Sex with Death.
We said that Sex with Death was about like a bad relationship, but that the person is like really hot, so you keep like you keep sleeping with them. But you know, or I guess her in this case, because you do gender this person, but it's like, you know,
I do.
It's a dangerous bond.
It's a dangerous bond. The behind the scenes of Sex with Death, my French supporters already had it because I was interviewed on a French stream recently, and I actually talked about Sex with Death and everything I'm about to talk about, but I'm happy now that I get the English version, so that is cool. So it is about, okay, I think it's interesting to take it back to like when I started writing it before actually talking about what it is about, but just to answer that very quickly, it is more or less what you said. It's like having a toxic relationship and still sleeping with that person because they're really hot. It's not really because they're really hot in my eyes. It's more because the sex is good than they are like an actual hot person. I never really wrote it through the lens of like this person is hot, even though like the promotion videos for the song and the whole aesthetic of the song makes it seem like I'm a very superficial person, but I actually don't care about beauty at all. But I'm gonna talk about that like afterwards. I just kind of like wanted to trick people into like, oh, this is a sexy song, and then they're like, wait, it's talking about something weird though. So I spent a week in Denmark at my producer's Nova Fled's house to start working on the album. At the time, we had a couple of songs off of the album not done but almost finished, and actually Elevate was already there. And it was the end of the week, and she made one of the two beats that you hear in Sex with Death. She made it, I think, the same day as the same day I was supposed to leave, and I heard it. It was like just before leaving to go catch my plane. I was like, yo, send this to me. I'm a ride on my way back. I arrived to the airport super, super early, way too early. And I was like, damn, I got a lot of time to kill. So, you know what, let's start on that song. At first, it was supposed to be kind of like Change Part 1. I mean, the way it was, I'm never like overthinking my lyrics too much until I actually end up on a topic. And I'm like, ooh, this make kind of like when you, how do they call that? It's like automatic writing or something, when you like just write your thoughts until like you get something that's like interesting to actually reflect upon. Well, I was kind of like doing my usual Changeline shit, where it's like, oh, fuck you, I'm a lesbian. And the thing is that I had a whole verse written and then ended on the chorus. And on the chorus, I don't know why my mind started, now I know in hindsight, but on the spot, I didn't know why my mind went on the you're having sex with the Grim Reaper moment. And I wrote this whole chorus, and it was like, I'm the only one she liked to play with, it's chicken bomb, da 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 da. I had only that. The rest of the verse was just like bullshit that was not really making a lot of sense, but was just funny. And then the chorus had like one specific topic, which was that, like having sex with the Grim Reaper. And I was like, damn, this goes hard. But now it has nothing to do with the rest of the song. So I scrapped the whole verse, and I was like, okay, you know what? Let's write a whole song about having sex with the Grim Reaper, and I'll talk about it with my therapist afterward. So I did that.
Damn.
Incredible.
And I wrote everything to the first beat, and then was like, damn, that beat is kind of like, well, I extended it actually. It was not there was not supposed to be 2 choruses at first, so I extended it. And even extended, I was like, damn, it's still kind of like short. And I had the second beat that she sent me, and I was like, it would be a dope ass transition though, especially if you're taking it through the lens of like an actual sexual encounter where it's like there's a climax at the end.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, the moment I scream is like literally the moment where you are screaming in bed, I guess, if you may. And so at first I just like saw it as like having sex with the Grim Reaper. That's so funny. and then I thought about it, and I was like, no, like a lot of the lines, and it happens to me a lot, like I write lines and I'm like, God, this is just so funny, and then I reread them and I'm like, nah, I know what this talks about. Oh god, it's kind of like
like you're revealing parts of your inner psyche, like just by writing.
Yeah. I'm kind of like dissociating as I write, and I'm like, whoa, this doesn't really make any sense. And then when I come back to it, I'm like, this actually makes a lot of sense. And yeah, in hindsight, this song definitely touched on the topic of a toxic relationship, yeah, but specifically it talks about the toxic relationship that I had with my sexuality in general. So it doesn't really, I already made a whole EP that you mentioned, Teardrops on a Book Page, that talks about one specific relationship that I had. Sex with Death isn't about one specific relationship. It talks about my relationship to sex in general more than anything. And the Grim Reaper is more, the image of death, and the Grim Reaper is more a representation of the toxicity I had around sex before, rather than like an actual person that I was. I mean, it could apply to it though, because I had some fucked up relationships, but still, it's not really. It's more about me and the fact that I was kind of like discovering my sexuality the wrong way for a while, I want to say. And it's also a song that was important for me to do because I think, Moth, you mentioned the asexuality thingy. I actually don't consider myself asexual anymore, and that's also why that's also why that song was so important to me, because I think it kind of sounds like spiritual revelation kind of, but it's like once I made this song and then I talked about it with some of my friends and my close ones, I was like we were talking about the song, and I was talking about my relationship with sex around it because they had like a bunch of theories. And I was like, damn, I think I'm not really asexual anymore, kind of. And then this thought started like looping in my head. And then I was like, yeah, I think I'm not really anymore. I'm kind of still on probably a little bit of the spectrum, because like I never had something, I guess I can talk a little bit about my like personal life, but I never had hookups in my life. So that's also why Sex with Death could sound kind of weird now if you hear me talk about it, because it definitely feels like I did have hookups, or I was having like a sex friend or whatever the fuck. Never had that. I actually have, like, most of my relationships were pretty meaningful, quote unquote, because a lot, like at least 2 of them were like really toxic, but they were like at least like I always had like long relationships. I never had like casual situationships.
Yeah, stay away. Stay away from that.
No, I know, and I know, you know what? For a while I was like, damn, why am I like weird like that? Like a lot of people have casual sex, a lot of people have situationships, a lot of people don't take shit too seriously when it comes to relationship. Maybe I shouldn't be like that. And I was on the verge of trying, and then I was like, no, I don't want it. And that doesn't make me less cool. That actually, if I stick to what I am,
hell yeah.
If I stick to what I am, and I'm like, oh, you guys are having casual sex, you know what? That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. I would not do that in the slightest, and that doesn't make me less cool as you. You're way cooler if you're like actually being what you are and completely accepting yourself than trying to fit in some bullshit society standard. So yeah, I don't really. Yeah, tell me. Sorry, I'm a talker.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, can I just say how much I appreciate you saying that? Because I very much relate to what you're saying here. It's come up on this show a number of times, but I can't imagine what it's like to not be on Twitter. I envy you, honestly. But
yes, away from that too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've been staying away. I think I had a Twitter account back in like 2015, and I've never had any other. Yeah, no.
Wow.
That shit.
Yeah, keep it that way. Anyway, what I was going to say was, it really does feel like when you're on trans Twitter specifically, we've had this conversation on the show that like it feels like so much of trans Twitter is poly, and I have no problem. Siobhan is polyamorous. We've had conversations with that also. But, like, as one of the very few feeling monogamous trans women, it definitely does feel like you're looking around and you're just like, basically what you were saying there. So, like, that hits very close to home for me, and I appreciate you putting it in that way, because, yeah, I relate to that very strongly.
You're very welcome. And girly pop, don't get me started on the polyamory shit, because I got some pretty hot take, but I guess we're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it does come up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does come up. It does come
up. Fuck it. Speaking of which, 50 tasks. Let's go move on to the next song. It's literally the next song.
Let's cut to the chase.
So yeah, so we said this was about like sort of struggling with like success and love while sort of dealing with like a lot of like, you know, sometimes ADHD things. It doesn't have to be about that, but that's definitely what I related to.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that burden of, you know, energy and time when it's really difficult for me to give a lot of energy and time into the same thing over any amount of time.
No, right? I get that. Well, that's gonna be the first one where I go like, you got it all wrong, but it's not actually you got it all. You don't actually get it all wrong, because well, first I'm like I'm happy that you relate to it this way, because it's like very interesting for me, because I really didn't think it would be interpreted that way. It kind of like makes sense though a little bit on the relationship side. But the main thing about this song is it's more a song about overworking yourself than it is about getting to, putting too much burden on yourself on the relationship side of your life than anything else. I do talk about the relationship side at the end of the day. There's like some lines at the beginning and some lines at the end where I talk about polyamory, because for a while I was overworking myself and also being taking care of my relationships way too much and prioritizing other people before me way too much. So I was like doing both things wrong. I was prioritizing other people over myself, and I was prioritizing my work over my well-being. It's called 50 tasks because that's like, it's kind of like an embodiment of like, I felt like I had so much to do every day that I couldn't even like finish anything. Which was the case for a while. Not even, I think I'm way better now about that though, because that song talks about a time in my life that was, I would say a few months before Changeline even started. So we're talking about something that I've experienced a while ago now. I did overwork myself on Changeline though a couple of times, but it has never come to the point of where I went through when I was before. I think I mentioned it on the latest interview with you, Moth. Before making music, I was editor and director for like movies and advertisements and shit like that. And that's when I was in that specifically. I started working in social media content, which is terrible. It's useful for my career now. That's why I make like good videos and I can make like good numbers on social media. But at the end of the day, it was kind of terrible. And that was also why I was overworking myself at the time. It was because of the whole work ethic, the work environment, not even work ethic, the work environment I was in, plus the relationships I was in. I did the polyamory shit for a while, to be even more detailed, because I think that's an interesting experience to hear. I've never heard it online, so I guess might as well share mine. I actually I have the opposite path of most people, which is starting with polyamory at the very beginning of my like love life, sex life, whatever you want to call it.
God.
And then realizing later on, no, I'm actually not 100. I still kind of consider myself on the like poly spectrum, but right now I'm like definitely like a monogamous person for the time being.
That's crazy. I mean, that's I've never heard that before. Like,
exactly. No, I've said, and girly, I've searched on Reddit. No one has that. I was like, it's not me bragging because fuck, I wish I was normal, but I did. I have like I started my relationships being polyamorous because I got into it through one of my very first exes, and from there I was just like, oh yeah, that's healthier and that's better and that's like queer and and like we're gonna make the world a better place. And don't get me wrong, I think that a lot of polyamorous people actually make a very good point on the way they handle their relationship and the way they're trying to change the way we see relationships in general in society. I relate to what you said, Moth. It took me a while to understand that it was not for me because I replaced the cis straight societal construct pressure on myself by the trans and queer pressure of like everyone's poly. You should be okay with it. You've been doing it for 10 years, bitch. Like you're literally I got some old friends of mine who are now polyamorous because of me, and they are living a happy life. So when I told them, bro, I'm actually, they were like, what the fuck? You of all people. And I'm like, I know. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised too.
To me, that's like growth because like I've also been polyamorous for like about 10 years, but I don't think that it should be something that like people should be like coerced into or brought into without like, you know, and I think that, you know, especially because it's so pervasive in like trans and queer spaces, it can sometimes take on really negative and bad sort of
100%
structures, which I'm not a big fan of. I think that we should all be a little bit more critical of the way we discuss polyamory and engage with it, because like to me, like it's more about like freedom and like self actualization, you know, the ability to like be a full person, and like that's not polyamory for everyone, you know.
Exactly. A lot of it is a lot of people, and that's going to be a hot take, and I'm sorry for some people who will get hurt by what I'm about to say, but let's be real, it is real. Polyamory is an excuse for some people who do not know how to communicate to have even less pressure around like communicating in their relationships, and just being like
100%, yes, absolutely,
and just being like, oh, I'm seeing a bunch of people because I'm trying to fulfill every single part of what I want in life, and at the end of the day, you're just not handling communication the right way. Criticizing the polyamory movement doesn't mean that I think it's something that is bad or that should stop or in anything like of that sort. I just think it's not for me for the time being, because it's probably a spectrum as well.
I'm out here criticizing like the way we do polyamory and how pervasive it is as well. Like I think it is a problem. And you know, we can fix it together. We can all think a little harder, you know, and grow more.
I mean, it's definitely worth looking closer at, because, and I don't mean this whole thing to turn into a conversation about this exactly right now.
All good.
When you first transition and you feel this kind of sexuality that is new to you and you want to explore in different ways, I think a lot of people do gravitate towards polyamory as a way that just kind of feels like it makes sense to them. But, and I don't want to say that this is like a phase for people. Like I have noticed a good bit of my friends who, when I met them, were poly and now don't consider themselves poly anymore, and they do happen to be closer to my age. And while I'm, like I said, I'm not trying to say that it's a phase for everybody, I do think there is kind of a honeymoon phase when you do start transitioning, and you kind of, there is a chance that you do kind of fade away from that after a while. And I'm not saying that's for everybody. That's just my personal observations.
And like from my perspective, I'm 31. I started being polyamorous when I was 21 and I transitioned at 29. So I was like polyamorous first.
Sure.
And I also transitioned older. But I worry a lot about girls who are a lot younger and transition. And then like a lot of the people who are like potential partners for them are polyamorous, and they get kind of like roped into it in ways that probably not good for them. You know, I mean, I don't want to like make any assumptions about other people's relationship if I haven't seen or met them, but I just imagine that that's a lot, you know, being like recently out, being young and sort of like foolish with your heart a bit. I can see it being like a pathway to bad relationships, in some cases abuse too, and I don't fuck with that at all. That's so bad.
You got to realize that you're gonna hurt yourself in the process most of the time, and you got to be really careful. And you also need those experiences. Hopefully they don't come with trauma, and they are just like, you know, heartbreaks. Everyone goes through heartbreaks. It's fine. This is like fine. If it didn't imply any sort of abuse or anything, you know, it's just like, it is what it is. And I think you definitely gotta like think about it beforehand a little more for the polyamory thing though, because even though we're now talking about it way more, there's still not as much resources out there as there is for a monogamous relationship, you know? So that's also why I definitely, same here. I am concerned for people sometimes, but I'm also like, just, you know, do your thing. Just please don't be with stupid people who will hurt you like intentionally. If you end up realizing it's not for you, that doesn't make you less queer, that doesn't make you less good, that doesn't make you someone who's like enforcing the society standards of oppression, monogamous oppression, and oh my god, you cannot handle jealousy. No, I can't handle jealousy, bruh.
Yeah.
What the fuck you're talking about? I can handle it so much that I actually like had to handle other people's jealousy in the process, and that has taught me so much. So come on.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Like, we focus so much on jealousy when that's like only one part of the way that like polyamorous relationships can be a little bit like fraught. And one of them, I think actually the biggest one is like triangulation, where it's like you get involved with all these people and then they have maybe their own relationships with each other, and then you get roped into drama that like you're not involved with, and like you have to be like a mediator for people. It gets so fraught so fast, and it's like not inherently a problem. It's just like human relationships have problems, and then when you add more and you like, you know, mix them all up and they're all interconnected, it can get pretty messy, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Polyamory is not like this super cool thing of like, wow, you have multiple partners. That's so cool. It also comes with more responsibility because you have to handle more relationships. So that means like one relationship is already a lot to handle. My friendships are already a lot to handle for me sometimes. Not saying that they're like hard or like my friends are giving me a hard time in a way that would be like toxic. But like to maintain relationships, it's hard, especially when you become an adult. So you gotta also understand that polyamory is gonna come with its hardships and struggles for sure.
The next song we talked about was Voices in My Phone, which we said was like about like, you say that it's, you know, about like comments from boys and you're just like, fuck all men, which is a very powerful message.
This part, okay, let me add, because this part was kind of like exaggerating a little bit my thoughts. It will never be, I think people don't understand that I will never be like fuck all men in reality. I have some men in my life that are like wonderful. So some people have called this song a diss track, and I think it is that. It's kind of like a diss track, but towards my detractors, and specifically my men detractors. As a woman in the music industry in general, it's harder for us. So, and it's also frustrating to still in 2025 hear some horrendous lyrics that are like extremely sexist, and that are still mainstream. Not that like, you know, that like there's some bits of sexism in some songs that I kind of like. I'm still like, for example, BB No Money. I love that dude so much, but
that
like
is
some of his
that is
lyrics,
my boyfriend. I love him.
but some of his lyrics are still like in the realm of like, I fucked that bitch and I fucked that bitch and it's screwed on my dick like a butt, but you know, she, you know, it's like, and it's okay with BB No Money because he also has this whole personality around it, but it's also okay with like a bunch of Tyler's lyrics as well. Don't tell those people and those women where your bees at or whatever the fuck.
Oh yeah.
When I heard that, I was like, Tyler, come on. And at the same time, I'm like, it's funny. It's okay. I know he's not about that. So, like, some men who sing about that, I completely, it's fair. But a lot of other shit that I hear, I'm like, bro, you guys are still saying this in 2025. Are you serious?
It's exhausting, yeah.
And most of the times, it's accompanied with them outside of their music talking about women in a very degrading way, apart from one woman that they're gonna pick to be their token of like, no, but Ice Spice, she my girl, so you know I'm not sexist, bruh, come on.
Right.
So it was also about like, oh, you guys want to say horrendous shit, I can say pretty horrendous shit too.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Not to say that I'm like Delilah Bond, shout out Delilah Bond too, like she's awesome. I'm not as active about talking about that topic as she is, but I really wanted to make a song that would be almost like completely about that. But also the story behind it is that I made that song a while ago, like early 2024, I think. And it was a few weeks after my song Brain Fog. No, it was a few months after one of my songs, Brain Fog, was out. Because basically, like, as a woman online, like visibly online, and as specifically a queer woman online, I receive obviously a lot of like horrible messages both in my DM and my comment section. So I usually don't, and people understand that, I usually don't read my DMs at all. So I know a lot of people are super understanding of that and they're not expecting any reply from me. And it's not, and guys, it's not gonna get better.
Yeah, we gotta lock in.
Ain't no way I'm going back to checking my DM requests. Like, it's dead. It's dead. I'm not doing that. I'm checking my comments now because I have a really strong community that stands up for me. But and I don't even check the comments that much, to be completely honest. But the DMs, fuck that. I was in a like kind of like a bad state of mind, and I was like thinking about that a lot, being the fact that I was like scared of opening my DMs in my comment section. And I had this sudden impulse of like, no, you know what? I'm gonna stop being a bitch. I'm gonna fucking open my comment sections and I'm gonna read a bunch of shit. Like, I can't fucking take it, you know. It was bad. It was really not healthy.
Yeah.
And then I read like a bunch of comment sections of a bunch of my videos, and I ended up on one of the videos for Brain Fog, and that video actually technically did really well. Like, it was making like really good numbers. But the comment sections was flooded with, because it got pushed to the wrong people, because people were commenting it about my voice. They were like, oh, your voice sounds horrendous. Why do you even try to sing? Like, what are you even saying? Some people were also like, because I got, just real quick, but in Brain Fog, I got this line where it's like, I want to be as dumb as a pigeon. And they were like, pigeon are actually very smart. And I was like, God, come on.
That's so funny.
I was like, how to get offended 101. And
they just listen to the Aesop Rock song all about how pigeons are discriminated against, and then they hear that line and it's like, oh shit, I gotta stand up for the pigeons. I get it.
And I was like, and I saw all of that, and specifically that comment section, I saw all of it, and I was so I became so pissed. Like, you know, in the cartoons where like their head becomes red and they had like
a whistle,
fucking steam. Yeah, they had the whistle and shit. I was literally like that. Came back to my place, scrolled down a bunch of the beat packs that Nova sent me, ended up on that beat. I was like, this is perfect. Wrote the first verse in like 10-15 minutes out of anger. Didn't change it in the slightest, so it's really one of my best verses.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, and then I recorded it straight up after writing the verse. So that first verse specifically in the song, I am very genuinely extremely angry. Like, I know I'm angry in my music, but there's a lot of acting in it, because it's after something have caused me to be angry. Usually it takes me like a while before I process that and then put it into a song. For this one is the only one where I felt it, wrote it, recorded it, and was like genuinely super angry. And I remember one of my roommates at the time, because they were used to being Changeline's roommate, so they were used to being like, she's recording her shit and she's like being loud sometimes, like completely fine. And also most of the time I was recording when no one was at home. But at the time, one of my roommates was there and like came in my studio and was like, girl, you good? Because like you good. That's more than usual.
I will say, when I heard the song for the first time and heard the boy said my voice gonna make him commit suicide, I don't really care, jump, I was like, oh fuck, okay, shit.
I know. And this has gotten me in trouble.
I fucking get it though.
Yeah, because, and this line came literally because a bunch of them were talking about suicide. Like a bunch of them were really making jokes about, your voice makes me want to kill myself. And I was like, you know what? You don't like my voice, I don't really give a fuck. But the fact that you use a very serious topic that has personally impacted me a lot, I was so angry. Because it's probably a bunch of white dudes in their basements who have never been through anything in their entire life. And they're like, suicide is funny. And I was like, you know what? But you know, I wish suicide on no one, not even those people. You know what? I even wish them happiness. This was just for the diss track. I will never be like, actually kill yourself. No, this was for like the drama.
That's fair.
The wow effect. And then I had like this whole verse done, put the song on standby for a while, and then came back at it and finished the two other verses. The second verse. And then I didn't have the beat switch yet. And I actually, little anecdote, I finished recording that song when I was on a trip in Geneva. I recorded like the third verse, like the super angry one, in an Airbnb, I think, in Geneva. And I finished mixing it in some very beautiful park in Geneva, which has nothing to do with the song, but it's just like I was in such a chill environment for such an angry song that it's kind of like funny to imagine me like sitting on the grass mixing that song that goes like and was just watching the birds. It was an awesome moment.
I love that. Well, I for one would like to thank you for the line, standing here with pride to be fucking dyke.
Well, you're welcome.
Let's fucking go.
You're welcome. You're
So
welcome, and I'm
good.
very happy that you mentioned the fact that you caught that line when you were at my show, when you saw it. Because honestly, I was not playing that song that much, and I was like, maybe people won't even get the lyrics because like maybe the sound system of the venue is not gonna be good or whatever the fuck. Specifically in that show and a couple of other shows, I actually had like the standing here with pride to be a tranny fucking dyke, and I heard and I had the crowd go like wow, and I was like yeah, I know. And now people are just like screaming it with me, which is even cooler.
Oh,
but yeah,
hell yeah. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, everyone. Happy Pride, everyone. And just to be clear also, if men fuck good for you. Don't buy a raise. Look.
Sorry. They hate to see a bisexual girl like me coming. I'm so sorry.
You know what? Do your thing. Very happy for you. I tried, not for me. And
so fair.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I usually, if you're in my circle and you're a cis man or a man in general, shout out my trans men, but they can be a lot to deal with too.
Boys, am I right?
Boys, am I right? If you're in my circle still, well, you're good. I mean, a lot of the few men's I have in my life, like, they know. They know that they wouldn't fuck with me though, and that's also great. Like, again, like, we don't literally need no guys, like it's like physically not possible, just they need to check on their privileges. And what I really like about that song, to like put a little conclusion about it, but it's again about like the live performance part, but when I play it live, it's also an opportunity for me to be, specifically in like the type of scene I'm in, it's usually like it's mosh pit stuff and everything. Like most of the time you're gonna see a lot of guys at those kind of shows, which is completely fine, but it's also why there's a lot of harassment and problems happening in those type of shows. And for once, when it comes to a Changeline show, they're gonna be outnumbered. And when this song comes on, I replace like the second interlude with me talking directly to them, being like, hey, so if you're a guy in the audience and you're like taking this song super personally, just be aware that it is not all everything is not all about you. And if you want us to stop being angry, just shut the fuck up and listen to us for a second.
Goddamn, yeah.
Yeah, real.
And then maybe,
I will say, being at shows where there were mosh pits and trans women performers, I'm just saying from personal experience, typically the groups can be pretty understanding. They can read the room. They know what the deal is. The people that fuck it up consistently are the fucking cis dudes who don't read the fucking room, end up trying to crowd kill. And it's like, do you see anybody else here trying to do that shit? Everybody else is strictly, they're like putting up with you, wishing you'd calm the fuck down.
No, for real though. Like the crowd killing thing, my backer, Axel, shout out Axel, she loves that shit. I don't know how she does it, but honestly, the crowd killing shit, I love mosh pits and like jumping on each other, but the crowd killing is like, it's too much for me. That becomes too much.
And not to say that some trans women can't get fucking rowdy in the pit either. I've seen it happen.
No,
but I've just noticed that, like, I just think they have a better they understand the assignment, and they go in there and it's like, okay,
exactly.
like they're shoving, maybe some jumping or whatever. No one's throwing fucking elbows and spin kicks, chill out.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, there's a certain demographic that really likes to crowd kill, and I have my fucking eyes on them, okay? Let me tell you.
I know you'll keep them in line, girl. So where we go next? We got, that was Voices in My Phone.
Caretaker
is next, yeah.
I don't remember what did you guys say about Caretaker?
First of all, I thought it was like really cool how you were singing a bit more in this song. I really liked that.
Yeah. Which is not even my first time actually singing. But I think it's the first time that it's like actually well executed. It's the best so far singing. And yeah, it's also interesting that it comes just after Voices in My Phone. That is like such an intense song, and then you come down to it.
Yeah.
I think it was just like the perfect spot for it also, because after 4 songs that, even if Sex with Death is kind of like medium paced, it's not too hard, still like the beginning of the album is pretty like very intense, and I was like, I think Caretaker will fit perfectly there, because you need a little bit of a breather and to go back to like a little bit of introspective shit. But yeah, it's and you're actually not the first person to talk about the fact that hearing me sing kind of like catches you off guard. Like I have a very good friend of mine called Thea, who's a Thea in the French in French accent, who's a hyperpop artist from France, who's killing it right now in France.
Love.
Shout out Thea. She actually listened to the album and also told me, when we got on a call after the album dropped, and she's told me kind of the same thing. She was like, yo, when you start singing on Caretaker, I was like not expecting it. And she was like, and it's like actually really good. Like you have a really good singing voice. And I think she's aware of the fact that I'm not super comfortable with my singing voice so far, but I'm getting there. So she was like, no, come on, like practice that one. And it's really like, you're going to get there. And like specifically given the fact that Caretaker is really well executed, again, like you can be good at singing, but again, it's like it also calls back to what I say on Voices in My Phone, like, oh, your voice is weird. Like it is hard to like know how to use my voice properly when it comes to doing more mainstream vocals like that. I had the beat and Nova's part on it already. It's actually it's another scrapped song from Nova that she didn't like. She just did that hook that she sings in, because she's the one singing there, where she goes like, I've been singing to myself. She actually had just that hook and was like, I don't know what to do. So she gave it to me It was like, if you want to do something, just do it. And I was like, whoa. So I was like, maybe I can do that. And I still wanted to have some rapping, some like more laid back vocals on it. Her hook evoked me straight away this feeling of, which I kind of already talked about when we were talking about 50 tasks, but I used to be the one who was prioritizing other people over myself way too much, and that's what Caretaker is all about. It's basically, I took that role of a caretaker, literally, way too much. In Caretaker, I feel like it's clearer, and I really deep dive in the idea of like, you're prioritizing other people over yourself. And when people are asking, how are you doing? You don't even know how to answer because you're literally not focused on yourself. And at the end of the day, what if you're the one needing a caretaker? I think it's also a feeling that a lot of people can relate to, is that the whole tell me I need a caretaker is like the thing, because I've heard a lot of my friends and a lot of people in general being like, I take care of other people and I feel like no one's never taking care of me, and like no one, like a lot of people who have depression are like, no one really gives a fuck about me and everything. And that's kind of like the feeling that is embodied in that line specifically, but also in the song in general. I was super uncertain that I would be able to actually do a good job on that beat and that like overall vibe, because it's way different than what I was used to, but it kind of also makes sense in what I usually go for in like sound effects wise, and like the musicality that I look for in even the hard like rage beats is still kind of there in Caretaker. Like, for example, my manager has told me, like, when he heard it the first time, he was like, the kick tickles my brain. I was like, that's perfect. That's the Changeline shit right there. This is one of the songs that I did where I did like the most arrangements. I think I added some cool notes. There's the guitar at the end.
Yeah.
And also like doing that, but doing it in a composer type of thing, because I didn't play the guitar. Actually, it was played by my friend Cheyenne. Shout out Cheyenne. She's from Dallas.
Oh hey.
Yeah. It was actually at first that like the guitar solo at the end was a sample that was just repeating itself like a couple of times that Nova was putting here as a placeholder. And I was like, do we keep the guitar idea or do we put something else? And then I was like, no, I want to keep the guitar. I kind of know how I want it to sound, but I don't have the VSTs for it. I don't have the skills for it. So I was like, but I know guitarists. And it's specifically Cheyenne, who is like the best guitarist I know. So I was like, hey, you down to do a little solo? And she was like, yeah, sure. So she did a couple of versions of that solo, actually. We tweaked it a little bit because I really wanted it to transition perfectly with Elevate just afterwards. So that was like the tricky part. I was very happy that I made that work. And there's also like some plugs here and there in the song. There's some like beat producing, making nerdy shit that I'm very proud of. But it's like I've always struggled with the melody aspect of my song, and I feel like I've started to crack it with Caretaker, so that's cool.
It's just interesting how many times our conversation about the album is kind of like touched on other things that we otherwise would have talked about on the show anyway. Siobhan and I were having an off-mic discussion where I kind of came to the realization that, very much like the song, I do end up putting a lot of people's stuff ahead of my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't really take the time to think about what I need because I'm constantly worried about what everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Today was the first day I really tried to hunker down on like voice training.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that was a direct product of, I'm just not going to think about what everybody else is dealing with.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to focus on myself today.
Yeah, that's what's up.
Editing the show is always a source of stress in the sense of like, I really wish I sounded differently.
Yeah.
And like, after 20 of these things, like, I don't think I had an excuse anymore. That it was just like, I'm just going to fucking do the damn thing.
Hell yeah. That's so great. I'm so happy for you. If that's what you need, because some people just don't vocal train, and that's completely fine. You don't have to. But if you feel like that's something that would make you feel happier, it's like, yeah, please prioritize yourself. It's so important.
Yeah. I feel like that's a great way to To elevate your transition. Am I right?
Fuck you.
Hey, no, that's a 7. That's a 7 out of 10. That's a 7 out of 10. That's a great transition.
Yeah, mids will inherit the earth. So here we are. So yeah, so elevate. I think we discussed this mostly as like a song about like elevating like, you know, yourself, your transition, like just every part of like what all that entails. You know what I mean? You speak pretty openly about like wanting bottom surgery in the first like chorus or the first verse, and then there's like more that goes into that.
The very first line,
literally,
very first line.
Yeah, I knew that's exactly what you were gonna say earlier when you said like, oh, we fucking thought the whole song is about one thing. But yeah, I was curious about what the rest would reference to.
There's a couple of moments where in the album you guys were seeing it through the lens of trans identity, and that was kind of wrong, and that's something that I'm trying to actually get out of because I'm trying to touch a wider audience. And even if I have curated a good community of like mainly queer and trans auditors, I'm just preaching to an already convinced audience if I keep on doing that, and I want to be more kind of like mainstream, quote unquote, and touch more people that maybe wouldn't really listen to us if it wasn't for my music or Damage's music or fucking any other trans artists' music. It's still some people in my community, and it's completely fair, they see it through the lens of transitioning all the time, and that's kind of something that I really want to get myself out of, because no, I don't make music all about my transition. I actually try to make it less and less about that, because at some point it's not the only part of my identity. For example, every single song that we've talked about so far, I feel like I have not mentioned my trans identity in this like that much, because most of the songs had like some lines about it, but they're not going to be completely about that. Elevate is like 100% about that though. Transitioning is kind of like the embodiment of this concept, so come on, like it makes sense that I would have a song that talks about that. Us as trans people, we embody the idea of like perpetual change and perpetually like evolving as an individual in the most visible way, because it's when they see you transition, they literally see your body changing, they literally see they see your voice. But everyone transitions in their life. You transition from being a child to a teenager to an adult. Cis people need to understand when we're out here being trans artists that are talking about it, we're not trying to push any fucking agenda. We're not trying to be like everyone should gender transition, but we're trying to make you guys understand that our path and our stories are actually very, very relatable for you guys as cis people too.
Yeah.
Because you guys transition too, whether you like it or not. You do the same thing as us. It's just that for us, it's extreme, because we're literally going against a societal standard, and we're literally doing, not everyone is doing it, but we're literally doing body changes. But I mean, people get tattoos, people get pierced, and you're not gonna be like, I mean, probably some people are like against everything, and they don't even people to get tattoos.
I'm sure, yeah.
I think being a visible trans artist and talking about that is less about finding the community of trans person to listen to me than it is about making my experience as a trans person relatable for cis people too. It's a super hard job, but it is what I'm like, how I see it now.
Yeah, absolutely. I find myself relating a lot to cis women who are going through divorces like in their midlife. I have a few friends like that, and I find that, you know, it's like a lot of the things that me and these other women are going through are very similar, you know, because it's like they're also kind of a little late in the games, like reshaping their life and their future, and doing so as a radical act of like self-love. So yeah, I completely agree that like, we have like great wisdom to share with cis people. And also like, I wanted to touch on another thing that you said too about how like the songs in this record, other than this one, are not about trans identity at all. I think that's really cool. We sort of touched on that in more recent episodes. I think especially as like Moth and I get more into our own like transitions, where like we're becoming less and less fixated on it.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a pretty natural...
That is. It is. Yeah.
Progression. Yeah. And especially to see that in your art is really cool, too.
Yeah.
I personally like that a lot.
Yeah, it's still important for me to have the songs that are, like, super, like, almost completely about transitioning, like the past songs I did, because I feel like it's going to be helpful to at least young trans people. Like, this is... Most of the sweetest messages I receive is young trans people being like, you gave me, like, the impulse to be like, okay, I'm gonna actually transition because I heard one of your songs.
Gosh,
this is like this has made me cry, believe it or not, receiving some of those messages.
Yeah.
But now I want to try and talk to not really just the queer community, and or at least do it as a community work, I want to say, because like if my queer community who is like backing me up with my music works with me towards this goal, and like shares my music to cis people, not in a look, fuck you, she's saying fuck you, so if I send you a Changeline song that means fuck you. No, if you send people a Changeline song, well, I mean, don't send voices in my phone to a cis guy. He's gonna be offended. But like, it's like if you want to support me, push my art towards people who you wouldn't push it to now. Like, of course, share it to your queer friends, share it to your gay friends, like whatever the fuck, of course, but share it also to make it really clear that it's accessible to a lot of other people. And I think that's also what I wanted to do with this album, and what I feel like it's a really good album. It's like, I think it can be relatable to a lot of people that are like not specifically trans, but Elevate is still here, and I wanted also Elevate to be about bottom surgery, but in a fun way. I wrote that song when I was with Nova in Denmark. That was one of the songs that we worked together on. I was like, I think a year and a half in my transition at the time. My mom, shout out my mom. She's an awesome mom. She's been always like accepting of whatever bullshit I come towards her with. And she's been, of course, like super supportive of my transition. But she was still concerned about the bottom surgery part, like very early on, and she has talked about it a little bit, like never being like don't do it, always being like if you do it, like be careful, da 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 da. And it was like from comments from my mom that was like genuinely concerned about my safety if I wanted to go through bottom surgery. I was like, what if I made a song for her that would make it a cheat? She doesn't understand like my humor in Elevate. Like, she told me, she was like, why the fuck did you say that? I was like, okay. But before even actually coming up with the fact that the song would be about that, I just came up with the I need to elevate when I heard the beat that Nova actually made in front of me. We were like just looping it, and I was like just like doing like random gibberish to like kind of find the flow, and at some point I was like, I need to elevate, and she was like, ooh, and then we were just like together being like, I need to elevate. And I remember, I think that's one of her favorite as well, because she talks about it a lot too. Like, she's always like, I need to elevate. But at first I thought elevate, I was like, oh, I'm gonna talk about the fact that I want to fucking like get further with my career, like get bigger, whatever the fuck. And then I was like, what if it was like elevating yourself through bottom surgery? I'm happy also, I think it's Moth. You got the I'm a cute butch, I'm a cute fooch reference. I don't know. You just like, most people don't know what a fooch is. And I don't even really give a fuck about like that word. I just find it funny.
I thought that was a cute moment.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just added it here because it was funny, to be honest. And because people have been like, you're a fooch. I was like, the fuck is that? Is that an insult?
In the queer dictionary, next to the word fooch is a photo of Changeline. That's so true.
I get that. I want that, please.
Yeah.
And I do gotta say, another way what you're saying is relatable here. When you said, oh, my mom listened to the song, and she's like, oh, why you say that? My mom listens to the podcast, and there have been multiple times where she's pulled me aside and just been like, yeah, so what was this part? And just be like, ah, shit, yeah, that's right. Yeah. But she's been very supportive in the way where she was like specifically like, don't change the way you're doing the show just because I'm listening. Like, don't shy away from topics that might be too personal. Because, like, she really appreciates how candid we are on the show. And sometimes we can, be a little, out of pocket with some things to talk about. It can be a little messy. I think that's a big part of the appeal, though, is that our show is a little rough around the edges. And, like, we are both very early in our transition. And sometimes, some of the things we say can be a little, I appreciate that she's like, not be like, don't change on my account, which is like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got the advantage of having a French family, so they usually don't understand English and they need me to translate the song. If they ask, I translate to them. And then they're like, you wrote that? And I'm like, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. That's so fun.
My mom...
You gotta translate the wet hole line.
My mom usually doesn't understand what I'm saying until she, like, asks about it. But she has never been too concerned about the way I write my songs, so that's fine. I will not change it in the slightest, even if she asked for it, though. She knows me at this point anyways, so... Just one thing about Elevate, it's cool that you guys got it right. I feel like trans people get it right, and cis people most of the time struggle with that song, even though they hear the first line, but they think it's a joke, and then they think the song is about just elevating yourself in general. I think I pre-shotted that, so that's why I added the little... And I don't wonder what that song is really about. Yeah, something gay as fuck, probably, at the end. Because I was like, I'm sure some people are going to be like, what the fuck is that about?
The next song is The Truth and Only Truth.
Yes.
And I think I speak for both Moth and I, where we kind of had no idea what to do with the song.
No.
But I do love the line, feeling she hermaphrodite. That
I'm so happy you got that one.
It's so good.
I didn't even know, to be honest, I didn't even know that hermaphrodite was considered like a... Maybe not a slur, but like offensive. I just feel like it's outdated. Like no one even uses that word. Except to talk about snails, maybe.
Now when I say this.
I just like realized that it started with her, and I was like, oh, feeling she... I think I came up with it like doing the groceries. I came up with that line doing the groceries, just like wrote it randomly and then added it to the song. Because I was feeling she, her, hermaphrodite. I was like, that goes hard. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I get the fact that you guys got a little confused with The Truth and Only Truth. I remember that you talked about... You like theorized that it was maybe about chasers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like some lines of it could possibly be about that. Yeah,
some lines are definitely about that. The song, not the whole song is, but some lines are. Oh, I just want to say before actually we talk about The Truth and Only Truth, but there's Appreciate the Moment just before, which is yes an interlude. Oh, yes. It is an interlude, but it's kind of like important to put it in the conversation because it's going to be important for The Truth and Only Truth, but it's here in the album for a reason. It's because it's the moment, like all the first songs, and shout out I don't remember your name, whoever that person is on my Patreon, who actually got this right. But the whole first part of the album before the interlude is actually me identifying my problems. Voices in My Phone is like the outside perspective. 50 Tasks is like you're overworking yourself. Change Part 1 is like in general there's something wrong with you. Sex with Death is like what the fuck is your relationship with sex? Caretaker is like you're prioritizing other people over yourself. And Elevate arrives just before the fracture point of Appreciate the Moment, because Elevate is like, well, at least there's one thing I know that could fix my problems is like bottom surgery, but moreover it's like my transition. And then Appreciate the Moment is like the fracture where it's actually not really... I appreciate the fact that you said that it's like spoken word, but it's actually a sample from a podcast I did with Damage, shout out Damage, the first time I came to LA, which was like early 2024. It's actually like a sample in the middle of that podcast that we did together where we were talking about the idea of change, and I thought it would be funny to add it there. It would be like on point. I just wanted like some really slow interlude to then lead to that kind of like second act of like, okay, So I've identified my problems, and now I'm gonna say, fuck it. Let's just be ourselves and say fuck the world. And the way that Patreon person said it is that it's the moment, the truth and only truth is really the moment where cartoon change, because on the cover arts of the album and the singles that came before it, there's like both me and cartoon change, like comic book change, and they are both very different personalities, and cartoon change is definitely like what I used to be, and like that's who you hear in probably like ADHD Core, Octopus Lady, those type of songs. She's like very goofy and very ragey and like and slutty as well. After I appreciate the moment, it's like she kind of like takes over. The Truth and Only Truth and Up in the Bay are two songs where the subject matter is a little bit more blurry, because it goes back to what I was doing with Change Part 1. It comes back to the usual Changeline style, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
But with still me kind of like trying to like take over and not let her take over too much, and being like, I'm still talking about me trying to change and accept the fact that I change. So The Truth and Only Truth started with that line. That the first line was, your greatest fear is just a mirror, which is, your greatest fear is yourself and what you're about to become, or something. And from there, I was like, let's write that, but not through the perspective of me talking to myself, but me talking to other people. And I touch on a bunch of different topics, but it's kind of like a fuck you, I figured myself out song and you didn't. But actually I didn't really, which is why Up in the Bay comes afterward. We're going to talk about it afterward, but that's why in Up in the Bay I start like expressing some doubts. But in The Truth and Only Truth, like I'm 100% like just bars on bars on bars, and being like, fake boys and fake fucks, fake you just to fuck, it's about chasers. You got that lust for that she-male is also like, fuck you, I know you want me kind of moment.
Yeah, okay.
And it's also, I wanted something that people could just like bounce their head to at shows, and I could low-key take a breather, but not really, because this song actually asks a lot from me, breathing wise. But it's kind of like a little slightly slower paced than the other ones. The big inspiration for it was Lumberjack by Tyler, the Creator. Well, I took inspiration from it in the fact that I added a bunch of ad-libs made by other people in the song. So you got Damage doing ad-libs, you got my friend Schno that I mentioned in the song doing ad-libs as well, and you got my friend Benny, Noir Benny as well doing ad-libs. They're all here coming together. So that's why it adds to the whole vibe of like kind of like rap, like really rap, like it's the most rap song in the album, and it's like rap gang with like people backing me up and shit, and they go like, yeah, hey. You know, actually one of the most important thing about the song is that it's really mean, and then I like come out of it and start questioning it Up in the Bay, and I'm like, accepting change and accepting yourself and just being mean to others is not going to lead you anywhere. That's the truth. That's the truth and only truth there. It's like, I say some horrendous shit like, you want me to care, that's why you don't want to be happy. This is aimed at someone specifically, and I don't know if they heard it, but I'm like, which is how I feel, but it's also like, it's mean, like, come on. And I like the fact that the song is mean, like, don't get me wrong, I really love that song, but it's also a way for me to like question that idea of like, it's cool to be out there and be like, oh, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, just like I was in Voices in My Phone. But at some point, you're just going to make enemies. And also, it's just like a really sick and weird beat that I heard. I remember my friend Lucy, who's like my photographer when I'm in Europe, heard the song and was like, what the fuck is that beat? I was like, yeah, I know. I mean, and it's still Nova. Like most of Nova's beats are weird, but it's right. Like she was right on the fact that the Truth and Only Truth's beat, it sounds like a broken record, kind of. It's weird. But I really love it. I really, really love it.
Yeah, one regret I have in our episode where we talked about the album was not shouting out Nova, because I specifically wanted to going in, because the beats on this are so next level shit on here, and I'd be remiss if I didn't point out the ending here, where I wanted to sample it in our episode just because I thought the ending here went so fucking hard. The back-to-back girl dick supremacy followed by motherfuckers talking about they want the truth, you can't handle the truth. And exactly. Like you said, most rap song on the album, like that outro alone really is just like is this that, song, you know?
And that speaks to the idea of being like mean through like ego trippy rap, which is like great, like I love to do that. But yeah, Damage didn't even know that the song was really about that. I just kind of like sent this song to the three of them, Benny, Schno, and Damage, and I was just like, can you guys do random ad-libs and I'm gonna add them however I want. And she came up with that part, which wasn't even at the end. At first she was like backing me up on another moment in the song, and I ended up like isolating it and putting it at the end. She actually was kind of surprised out of that. She was like, wait, why did you keep that? I was like, because it's cool.
Yes, it goes so fucking hard. Yeah,
it does.
You can't fucking handle the truth.
Just right into Up in the Bay, which is such a great transition there.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's awesome. And Nova's work is like, just before we talk about Up in the Bay, but actually I think by the time this podcast comes out, it will be out, because I think I'll drop that video like this week or next week. But I have actually a whole like an interview of Nova that is going to be like around 20 minutes long that I did when I was in Denmark with her, where she talks a little deeper about her work, because I was like, I wanted to like give her like a moment just for her, because she's such an important part of my music right now that I want people to be aware of who she is. And she's like an extremely interesting individual and super interesting artist. And yeah, she's next level, to the point where I think it's kind of like does a disservice to me, because I think it's not me like bragging or anything, but sometimes I think her beat and the beats that I choose out of everything she sends me are a little bit maybe too avant-garde for some listeners. Like, she does a lot of things that, I mean, it's not even that experimental. Femtanil is like even more experimental than me, and she had way more followers than me, but that's because she touches to a very specific niche. It's wonderful. While for me, it's like I touch to like maybe a little too much things at the same time, and with Nova's beats that are like awesome, but also a little too avant-garde, sometimes it's probably a little hard to digest for people, but it'll get there. But yeah, no, shout out Nova multiple times. She's awesome, and she's, for me, the best producer of her generation, and I'm not even exaggerating.
I mean, what can I say besides moral of the story? Pretty bitches don't get tickets.
There you go.
Oh my god. Up in the Bay. Damn. Again, you got this one all wrong. But that's cool.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
but I mean, that's just a few. There's just a few of them that you actually like got entirely wrong. But like Up in the Bay. No, not entirely. No, mm-hmm. I'm lying, because you got most of Up in the Bay right. Actually, it was this idea of navigating between completely accepting yourself and completely deep diving into your purpose and doing what you want and following your dreams, while questioning if you're doing it for the right reasons, basically.
Oh yeah, I'll totally just admit I was just reading what it said on Genius. I wasn't really that great at analyzing the song specifically. Yeah, that's just what it says on Genius.
Oh, does this? Wait, hold on. I didn't even check the Genius annotations of my album. I'm crazy. That's crazy. I'll check that afterward. Yeah. But specifically, the Bay, the Up in the Bay, is actually a reference to San Francisco, the mm-hmm. San Francisco Bay.
I was thinking that.
Oh, it is 100%. It's also why in the videos for the song I'm in San Fran because it's one of my favorite places in the US so far. It was an objective for me to be literally up in the Bay, like arrive in San Francisco and explore it and see a lot of things that I wanted to see in that city. So it was kind of like the representation of like, I made it and I'm now up in the Bay, but am I really happy with how I got here? And is it like the end, or should I like think about what's next after that? Is it, it was also the end of tour. Like the end of our US tour was in San Francisco. So it's literally very metaphorically like, oh, I'm up in the Bay. I did all this shit. and now what's next, kind of, and was I good? Kind of. But also I wanted a song with like a good chorus and a good hook too. Like it was like, it's both coming just after the truth and only truth is like a, all right, yeah, fuck everyone, but am I really a good person? And also I wanted really like a banger that would be like, that you could sing the chorus with me at shows and that you could like easily remember. I know that most people tell me that Up in the Bay is not their favorite, but the one that they can sing along the easiest.
Oh yeah.
Between this one and Sex with Death, basically. And which makes sense because it was really actually way much more of a straightforward beat as at first. There was no bridge. There's like the little bridge halfway, a little bit more than halfway through the song, where I go like make a melee, where there's like a bunch of new samples that are introduced at this point. I actually made this bridge. I had the whole beat and I was like, it lacks a bridge. And I've never tried before to make a bridge out of finished quote unquote beat of someone else. So I was like, can I really match? And also, can I match Nova's style? Because let's be real, she's awesome, and I don't know, like she's a way better producer than I am. So that's why I consider myself a like an arranger and a composer a little bit, but she's like the producer and the composer behind what I do now, and I'm like a side producer. So I was like, can I really make a bridge that will really fit in there? And I'm actually very proud of how it ended up sounding, because the bridge also, what's awesome about this bridge is that in the Spotify, like the music platform version, it's perfect there. But for live shows, I actually start on the bridge, because with like the little drum sound that kind of sounds like Banana Pie or Terracotta Pie from System of a Down, kind of sounds like it.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Kind of sounds like that is actually like an awesome intro for people before they go crazy and go like, I just want to be Up in the Bay. Yeah, and that's the moment in the album before the last two songs where I'm like happy and saying fuck you, but like again being like, what the fuck am I actually doing? That's the end of the second act and beginning of the third act, basically.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful way to like conceptualize it too, in like a 3-act structure. Because Change Part 2 and The Draw of a New Shape, the eponymous song, they both feel like it's all coming together in like a strong poetic way, right? And
I'm a huge movie nerd, so my projects are like, I think about my project as movies. So it's like 3 acts and
yeah, that makes me so excited for more LPs, because I love a record that is like well constructed, that like has movements to it.
Yeah, it'll take me time, but we'll get there.
I like especially like we were going from earlier, we were talking about the like standalone singles, going from that to being very album oriented and album minded is a very big shift also, because like I'm not going to say like people don't typically think about albums that way, but it doesn't feel that way a lot of the time. Where like, oh, there was like a vision here, where like, or it was like structured in a very specific way. So it's very refreshing to hear that.
Yeah, which is fine also. Like I really like mixtapes too. Like I really like albums that are just like a couple of songs put together, and they're just an overall vibe, and it works very well together, And to be completely fair, and that's the thing that I learned the most out of that project, was the fact that I actually didn't overthink it at all, and it kind of was building a little bit like piece by piece as I was making each and every one of the songs. I had the concept in mind. I wanted to make an album about change, like the concept of change, because I processed a lot of things in my life at the time. So I was like, I knew how I wanted the album to sound and how I wanted, what the vibe needed to be, but I didn't know how much songs would be into it. I didn't know what specific topics I would touch on, and they just like came to me, I kind of like just let the music come to me. That's because my directing style, like my film directing style, is like that. I plan like very carefully every single thing that I do, and my edits are extremely well timed. But for film, it works because you can really be super precise like that. While for music, at least for me, maybe it's not for other people, but I've learned that it's better to have an overall plan of what the project is gonna be, but not being too strict about it, because otherwise you're just gonna kill yourself trying to fit a vision that might not even be the right thing. Or you can have a strict plan, but you need to be aware that this plan can change. Isn't that funny? In the process.
In the process, you figure it out in the process. I think that's like a really beautiful thing about art in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I'm not very artistically inclined myself, but I tend to be very drawn to artists as like, you know, close people in my life, because I love to sort of like see that, you know, happen. Like for something to go from an idea to like a fully fledged thing that you can experience. Like, and it is interesting to see how it does shift quite radically often, because like maybe you can't do it a certain way, or like your idea of a thing is not actualizable like the way that you want it to. But that's, you know, the contested nature of that is so beautiful to me.
You got to find the right balance between I know what I want and I want to stick to my plan, and also I'm just going to adapt to whatever's coming to me as I'm like creating whatever I'm creating.
Speaking about changing the vision as you go and realizing as you go, I was very curious because it was difficult during the episode to discuss sex with death, because I could tell where the song was going and everything, but it was very, I don't want to say contradictory, but it clashed with the promotional material. And I get it. I wanted to ask, like, at what point did you decide that would be the way the song would be advertised?
I still see it. Look, even if it talks about like difficult topic, I still see it as a very sexy song. And I've said it before, like, do not feel bad for fucking to sex with death. Actually do it. It is so important for me that people do. It is kind of like also made for that. It's like you can literally put it on your I'm getting laid playlist and it will go really great. It's so, of course it touches about like hard subject matters, but it's not too understandable if you don't listen to the lyrics too much. Like, I'm not like outright saying, you know, the R word or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm not going outright like this is abuse, you know. It's like I'm still being sexy about it. I'm like being like, yo, I'm so good at sex and shit like that. So, you know, it's still very sexy, and that's probably why the content became that. Because I was like, first I thought about the cover art. I was talking about it with my friend Aiko, who makes the drawings from my cover arts. So I want Cartoon Change to be making out with a Grim Reaper next to me, and I look shocked. This was just like funny. This was just because I had this in mind. I was like, this is just so funny. Yeah. And then I was like, what if we did the same for the content? And I was like, well, I need to get someone to have makeup on. I probably need to like get like a studio for some of those content. Some of them I can just do in my bedroom. I also need to like find someone who would be who would consent, which I did. I'm not gonna reveal who that is, but it's good because privacy. But we were of course very consenting adults. I was just like, yeah, like I don't know why I would do something else, because when I do content, I'm like, it should be on topic with the song as much as possible, except for some of them where like the story in itself is already super palpable in the song. For example, Voices in My Phone, I was like, this song is almost made for TikTok at the end of the day, because you had the skits and everything. So I was like, I don't really need to overthink the set design or anything, but just have like some cool imagery. For Sex with Death, I was like, it's gonna work way better if I actually have content that matches the song's vibe and topic, which it actually did. I just had some of the videos being taken down by TikTok because it was against the rules or whatever, even though there was never, it was always censored. It was never, there has never been like, I haven't fucked on camera, guys, like, come on. Like we
Right?
we
God
felt
dang.
like it though. Like as we were filming that dog, at some point, like we were like, "Are we making porn though?" And we were like, "Nah, it's okay."
Look, I will say, as a very gay viewer, there definitely was points in the video where I was watching. I was like, should I be here for
I get
this?
it.
Like, I feel
No, I
like
get it.
I
I
should
get
be
it.
watching this.
No, it was
Like, y'all need your privacy. Dang.
I wanted to explore that too, like being sexy on camera, like quite literally. I feel like I wanted to like try. Like they're sexy, and I know like some people have. I know for a fact that some people have masturbated to the main video for Sex with Death.
Oh my god! What they tell you?
No, it's in the YouTube video analytics. I know how they ended up on the video, and when you've searched.
Oh my god!
When you've searched lesbian sex on YouTube and you clicked on my video, I know what you did.
Oh my god!
People telling on themselves. Dang.
Like, come on.
That is so fucking funny.
Oh my god.
Analytics doing you dirty.
I got that.
That's awful.
Some of them are like lesbian long tongue for some reason.
Okay.
I get it.
Some of them are like making out or whatever the fuck, which is crazy also because the main video for Sex with Death, the visualizer is actually censored on YouTube, so you can't access it if you are under 18. The thumbnail is blurred out and everything, so it kind of like fucked it over, but I'm good with it.
Aw.
The ones that weren't taken down by TikTok or Instagram did actually pretty well. And I think you can still feel the idea of the toxic relationship in the content because she's kind of like playing a dom and top energy with me, which kind of like represents the whole toxic thing. Not saying that someone being top, like the topping someone else like that is like toxic in itself, but in the context of the song, it kind of is. Even though it's not supposed to like represent any type of like abuse or anything, it's more supposed to represent like a sexual encounter that is actually consensual with both people, but where there's still a dynamic that is like kind of blurry. And also it's just sexy, you know? Like I just wanted to make something that I would be proud of, because I'm not all about sex. Like a lot of people think that a lot of my music is about that. Like there's when I go like rapper mode, I want to say, like, even though I don't really consider myself a rapper, like when I go in my bars where I'm like riding on your bitch like she be my fucking bike, you know, like of course it's like very sexual, but not all my music is about that. Like come on, I don't just think about that all the time, but when I do think about that, I have ideas in mind. I have like I genuinely still want to be a director and make movies as well, and like sex scenes can be interesting. And for that, by just real quick, but the Wachowskis, the directors of the Matrix trilogy, Cloud Atlas, Sense8, and everything.
Oh yeah.
Just real quick, but in my opinion, they filmed the best sex scenes ever. They're like they're sexy, but also there's a lot of like very cool narrative underlying themes in their sex scenes. That's why it's like it's such great sex scenes, because it's like there's really actual characters that are having sex. It's not like you feel like you were watching a movie and suddenly it's a porn movie for like 5 minutes and then it go back to the movie. You know, it's like it actually has a meaning.
The film Bound, for example.
Yes,
Am I
yes.
right?
I was thinking about Bound.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Bound is so good.
Oh, it's insane.
Yeah.
So good. And that's kind of what I wanted to do. It's like those content have like a meaning behind them, and they are also like well performed. And yeah, if they made you horny, you're welcome.
Okay, well, on that note,
Yeah.
Change, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Yes,
you
of
were
course.
absolutely a delight. I could talk to you for 2 more hours, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, damn, we've been talking. I hope we touched on all the songs, but I think we did. We did it in kind of a weird way where we talked about the end at first and then like
Hey, we got there.
we got there.
I know we already did a whole episode about this album, but if you haven't fucking listened to this goddamn album, Drawing of a New Shape, please, please, please check it out. Absolutely incredible. And Change, thank you so much for spending your time with us. And actually, listening to that episode too really means a lot to us too, and that you knew what we said about it really helped out a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stream the hell out of this album. Like, this is my main thing right now. I'm gonna keep on promoting it for the rest of the year. Without saying too much, I'm trying to get a Europe tour together. Should be a reality. It's just taking more time than what we thought it would. Nova has also a project of herself and has dropped an album last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, and you should definitely check it out. It's awesome. And if I want to shout out, like, I guess another artists and talk about something else than just myself for a little bit, because this was very egocentrical. The artist Lil Darky, he's a big inspiration of mine, and he just released an album called Yang, which is the follow-up of an album he did 5 years ago, which was called Yin, because it's yin and yang. This is an awesome album that I was listening this morning, and I think it should be heard by a lot of people because it has some really beautiful lyrics in it. There's one new album from my friend Brokey, who's a trans rapper from the Bay, and who has released an album called Bomination. And it's awesome. And in general, just go follow Brokey. She's so good, and she makes me so happy. My friend Damage is also on a rollout with a bunch of singles, and she's gonna have an album in the next year. You should definitely check herself out. She is going on tour this summer from August to, I believe, the end of September, beginning of October. It's gonna be a really long tour across America. I'm not going to be there, but if you want to get the same vibe as me with a bunch of other artists, including my friend Schno, my friend Sleazy Easy, my friend K Presto, who are going to be on tour with her, you should definitely go and try to see if there's a show nearby. There you go. That's my plug.
Thank you so much again, Change. And
of course, thank you so much for having me. It was awesome.
The awkward transition to the ending part.
And to the rest of you, stay strong, bitches.
Stay strong, bitches.